I always forget to do that. Hi. This is the last an event apart of 2010. I'm really sad. This has been a rockin' year. I'll just say, oh, that's me on Twitter. I'll just say that I was talking to a group of people at lunch, and I was trying to impart upon them the understanding that this, if you're a web professional, this is the best conference that you can attend. Are you guys feeling me on that? Also, what you guys need to know is that as a speaker, being on this stage with the other folks that appear on this stage is like career milestone up here. Seriously, the level of respect that I have for the folks that I've been sharing the stage with over the past year is high. I also want to point out to you guys that most of those people are sitting in the back of the room right now. This is the only conference I speak at where other speakers sit in the room to support each other through the whole thing. So, thanks you guys. You're awesome. So another really great thing, most of us have been appearing together at the same events throughout the year, and so we've kind of gotten to know each other, you know, speaker dinners, what happens at the speaker dinner, stays at the speaker dinner. And one of the nice things, too, is that you begin to run into these people at other conferences throughout the country. And in fact, Luke Wroblewski and I actually found ourselves at this Norwegian conference called Webdagene. And that photo right there, those are the people that introduced Luke's talk, is a clown troupe. It's Norwegians. So anyway, Joshua Porter was also there, and Luke and Josh and I decided, we're in Norway, we need to go fjording. And Luke's battle cry for this was always, fjords! So we decided we were going to do this. So I'm telling you this because when I just started speaking, I don't know, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, I was always like fascinated by the speakers, like secret lives, like, you know, they present these professional images out in the world, well, most of us do, and like what happened behind the scenes. So I just wanted to like give you guys just a quick glimpse of this trip that we did together in Norway. This was the view from our cabins. I'm serious. This is not a joke. The jokes come later. This was a little photo that I took. I mean, spectacular. Here's me and Luke and Josh getting rained on in Norway. And then this is a bowl of coffee. And this was, we were sitting in like this little coffee shop trying to figure out what to do, and we'd all kind of had our little snack, and I was like, I just need one more cup of coffee. And I went back and I came back with this bowl. And I had been really self-conscious being in Europe because I was worried about being like a French fried finger American, and Luke was constantly giving me crap about like everything. And so this is I just wanted to give you guys this little like snippet of exchange that went down, because this pretty much like sums up what goes on when we're not up here talking to you guys.
This is a picture of Mom's bowl of coffee. This is Mom cracking up. Notice she's wearing a hat in a European restaurant. It's just like faux pas number one. This is why the kids, this is Josh and me, the kids are really embarrassed about Mom's coffee bowl and hat. And look, she can't even speak, which is even more embarrassing. I think the hat just went into the coffee bowl. Yep, her rim, if you can see, is covered in
did? It did not.
Covered in coffee.
Turn it off. So anyway, because you guys are the last crowd, I just wanted to share that with you, and also because I threatened Luke with it, and he was like, you're not really going to do that, are you? And I was just like, well, yes, I am. All right, so thank you for humoring me. Now we're going to talk about your teeth. Is everybody done with the sugar that you just completed? Yeah, that's good. So teeth are something that are very important to us in life. We use them to smile, we use them to speak, we use them to chew. And part of what we need to do to take care of our teeth is to visit the dentist. Now, I myself have some issues with visiting the dentist. I often am a little worked up and a little nervous, but that's cool. It's all right, because I'm willing to like go in and do what needs to be done in order to take care of my teeth. So at some point, all of us as adults probably need to choose a dentist, right? Like some of us have dentists that we've been going to since we were kids, and that's fine. But at some point you need to figure out who your next dentist is going to be. And this is a little bit of a touchy subject, right? Because you're going to have a pretty personal relationship with this person. This is somebody who's going to like have their hands in your mouth, right? So typically the first thing that we do when we need to seek out sort of healthcare or personal services is we go to our friends and our family members, and we ask them for referrals. So let's say that you're at a party, and you're at a party at Creative Commons. Awesome. So you're there, and you're surrounded by your friends, and you're having a few drinks, and everything's going great, and all of a sudden you kind of remember, right, yeah, God, dentist. I keep forgetting to do this. I got to ask somebody about a dentist. So when the moment is right, you stop and you say, hey, man, who's your dentist? And, you know, your friend will reply, and you maybe get some additional testimonies. But unfortunately, after a party, you often wake up the next morning, you kind of forget what has happened. So instead, you go to the Google, because this is also what we do. And you type in Chicago dentist, and this is what comes up. So it's kind of hard to know, like, what do you really care about with a dentist? You kind of have some ideas in mind, but right now you're just looking for proximity. So you kind of type in this address, and you look around, and you see, okay, these people look fine. They're not too far away from me. So you click on that, and you go through to their website. And this is what you get. So let's pause. This is the home page. Let's pause for just a moment and read together the web copy for Strobel Dentistry. Our downtown Chicago dental practice prides itself on having spanned 3 generations. Dr. Greg Sr. opened Strobel Dentistry in this same location in 1932 based on a deep personal belief in the importance of each patient's oral care. Please contact us, etc. So, what have we learned from the past 30 seconds of our lives that we will never get back? We're dentists. We have beliefs. We have an office and a phone number and email. So when they sat down to plan this website, what was their primary objective? What was the message? What was the content that they were wanting to convey? What was their objective? Okay, so that was not compelling to you. You go back, you click back again, and you kind of are glancing, and you're like, okay, well, Big Smile Dental. Let's take a look. That sounds promising, casual, friendly. So you go onto Big Smile Dental's page. And once your eyes stop burning from the design, you go and you kind of start to glimpse around, and you land on that big chunk of copy right there. If you're looking for a dentist in Chicago offering the best quality dental care at an affordable price, you came to the right place. And then you kind of start glancing through Smile Makeover, porcelain veneers, Invisalign, invisible braces, whiter teeth, etc. And you're kind of glancing through, and you're like, well, yeah, maybe these people are kind of more telling me the story of what it is that they can do, right? So what's happening here is that with this copy, they're beginning to sort of reflect back to their target customers or patients the things that are important to those folks. So these are the things that are being highlighted and sort of the voice and tone that's being set. And so in other words, this is more the message that you're getting. The design might suck, but the copy is at least something that you're interested in and not telling about Dr. Greg Sr. and their commitment to your oral health. So what happens here? When we sit down to create our content about our products, about our services, even support content, search results, all of these things, these are the things that we typically want to talk about. Just like a dentist, we want to talk about what we do. Cleanings, root canals, oral cancer screening. And I'm sorry, but when this guy is thinking about choosing a dentist, what he is not saying to himself is, I really need to find a dentist who's going to be sure to do that oral care screening for me. This is not what's on his mind. What's on his mind is that he wants to feel safe when he goes in to see that dentist. He doesn't want to hurt. He wants to save money. He wants it to be close by and convenient. He wants to keep his teeth, have a great smile, and he wants his time to be well used. He doesn't want to have to wait. He wants to go in, get it done, get it over with, and leave. Okay? So when we are thinking about the content that we're going to be delivering to our users, when we are thinking about that core message, we think about it in design. We think about it in our user experience. What is it that people want? What is going to help people find stuff? What will help people act? We're starting with the user. So why is it that when we begin to plan and think about our content, we so often are starting just with ourselves and with our own story. So I'm going to take a step back and talk to you for a second about something that I'm a big fan of, which is called content strategy. So content strategy has been around for years. Some publishers would say it's been around for centuries. But weirdly, it's nothing that we've really been talking about within the web professional community for a really long time. The conversation is finally beginning to emerge. There are a lot of different, people are kind of tangling over the definition, which is fine. I like to just kind of keep things simple, so this is how I tend to talk about content strategy. As the activity of strategically considering and planning for your content, the entire life cycle. Who's going to own it, who's going to take care of it, etc. So when we're talking about content, we're sort of talking about the stuff that you find online, all of it, and also the data and the stuff behind the scenes that actually makes that content work, makes it go, makes it findable, right? I tend to talk about text a lot when I'm talking about content because so often when we're thinking about text, what we're thinking about is an H1, H2, H3, right? What's going to fill in those templates for us? Or what are the questions that we need to have answered according to, our director, our manager, etc. But the thing is, we so often forget about all this other stuff. And this is the stuff that makes us work over the weekend. This is the stuff that makes our developer teams want to tear their hair out because nobody ever asked these questions or delivered this content. And so it ends up being an 11th hour fire drill every time. So when we talk about strategy, there's like yet another, who loves having the strategy versus tactics debate? Anyone? Oh, really? I'm not sitting at your table at lunch. So when I talk about strategy, I really do like to talk about it actively as a plan. So that we're not just talking about high-level strategic thinking or strategic vision. Yes, that's important, but a strategy without a plan is useless, right? I can deliver strategies all day long, but if you can't actually do it and implement it, then at the end of the day, it was just kind of a nice idea, right? So strategy, we talk about a plan for obtaining a specific goal or result. So here's what's important then when it comes to content. This monitor is killing me. Hi. We're not just talking about the what. We're not just talking about what content is it that we want to deliver, what content is it that we need. That's the easy stuff. How many of you have been in meetings where it's time to talk about the content, so you sit down, or maybe it's even part of a larger conversation. You sit down and there's a whiteboard. And somebody stands up with a marker on the whiteboard and they say, okay, what do we need? And they start making lists. And then maybe those lists get transferred onto Post-it notes. And then you start doing card sort exercises. That is really super easy. It's really easy to brainstorm. It's really easy to go around and ask stakeholders what they want. What's not easy is asking these questions about content. We forget to ask, why do we need this? We forget to ask, how is this going to get done? Who's actually going to do it? What in reality do we have to work with? Because those 400 PDFs that are sitting on your server, nobody's really checked those out for a long time. So it looks like a lot of content, but we don't really know how much of it is useful or relevant or really any good, right? We need to think about specifically our end audience. When we begin creating content, again, we begin to think about all this stuff that we want people to know. But who's that content for? What is it that they want to know? What is it that they come to our site looking for? We need to examine who our content owners are specifically, who's going to create it, approve it, publish it, maintain it, take care of it over time, etc. When is it going to be created? When is it going to be delivered? Where is it going to be delivered? How often are we going to deliver it? And then, this is like one of the most critical questions that almost never gets asked, and it's why websites suck, which is what's going to happen to that content next. We launch it and we leave it. But when we begin to think about content strategy as a process that can play within our own processes and organizations, then we begin to realize strategically we need to have a plan for what comes next, because we can't just keep piling crap on top of the crap that's already there. Right? Yeah, it's funny. It's not funny. Okay, so this is sort of my consultancy, Brain Traffic, we sort of worked together, and this is what ended up getting created by Melissa Rock, who's our VP of Content Strategy. And this is really the easiest way to think about and talk about content strategy as far as I'm concerned. The core strategy in the middle is, what is it that you are trying to do with your content to help meet a business or a user objective? What is it that you're trying to do? That's it. Then you need to think about what it is actually the substance of what you're going to deliver, how it's going to sound, what it's going to look like. You need to think about the structure, which is pretty much the information architecture, working with real content and not just an inventory with page titles. Okay? And working beyond the templates, which is something we're going to talk about. Workflow, which is how it's going to get done, because if you commit to a certain amount of substance and structure, you better know who's going to take care of it, and how often they're going to take care of it, and what their responsibilities are within the organization. And then governance, which is who's in charge of the content, strategy. Who is in charge of, beyond just, okay, this is our department, so we get to work on these like 10 pages. That's just kind of the wild, wild west. Distributed publishing was like one of the worst ideas ever in the history of everything. Okay, so today we're going to talk about substance. We're going to talk about the real meat of what it is that you're trying to deliver with your site. And even if you are a programmer or front-end developer or visual designer, whoever you are sitting in the audience, if you are thinking this has nothing to do with me, let me tell you, it does. This is something you have to care about. This is something that you should be engaging with and asking people about, because people are not coming to your websites to look at your code. They're not coming to look at the pretty pictures. They're coming for the content. And that's a real truth that I think that none of us really want to think about or take responsibility for, because content is like the least sexy thing ever. It's boring. And it's messy, and we don't want to be responsible for it. But somebody has to be responsible for it, or our websites are going to keep sucking. And I got real tired as a copywriter of seeing my stuff just sort of dumped into designs and then launching as sites that I didn't want to include in my portfolio. And that's kind of how I ended up in content strategy. So let's talk about messaging. So messaging isn't a tagline. Messaging is not sort of the snappy thing, the snappy marketing thing that you're going to say about your product or your service or your institution or whatever that might be. That's not what this is. It's also not a brand promise. We're committed to. We offer the most in. We will satisfy, et cetera, et cetera. That's not what it is either. Messaging is something that has to exist. It has to be this overarching understanding and these key messaging components or messaging architecture that are clearly understood by and ascribed to by your entire organization. Is everybody going to care about this? No. Is it really, really helpful when you begin to look out and plan for content in terms of creating consistent content over time, having something as a benchmark when you're thinking about creating additional content? Yes, it's an incredible tool, and it can apply on even the smallest initiatives. So this is the messaging pyramid. And you'll see up at the top we have a call to action. And again, whether you're in a for-profit or a non-profit organization, we all want people to do stuff. We don't want them to call, or we don't want them to call our support center. We do want them to sign up. We do want them to request an appointment. We do want them to convert, etc. So our content is there to persuade and to provide confidence and to inspire trust and to drive people to convert and to have that call to action. Okay? So that first second impression, this is not going to be your content. This is your back-end code and your design. Because when people show up at that site, Luke was saying, however long it takes to load, however clean and calming and sort of sensible your design is, whether it's on the home page or any other entry point, those things are what will form that second impression. How easy it was they were able to find you online. So, but what happens next? What happens next is that their eyes start to travel, and they're looking for content. And so within those first 10 seconds, they really need to understand the core of whatever your messaging is. What are you going to give them? How are you going to satisfy their needs? Why should they trust you? Who are you, and why do you exist? Now, if you're lucky enough to keep them around for 2 whole minutes, then you can get into your secondary messaging. And basically, the secondary messaging is content that is going to flow from that core message. Okay? Now again, we want to try to have, and if you're in a gigantic enterprise, you're not going to have one primary message that completely feeds into all of your content. Right? If you're in a university, you're not going to have one primary. Your university's mission is not going to necessarily drive all the content. Your university's mission, your mission statement in general, in fact, people don't care about. So let's get those off the homepage. Okay? Can we do that? Because they don't care about what you're committed to, right? They care about what you can do for them. So all of these pieces, your first primary message, there's 3 to 6 secondary messages, and then all the thousands of details, which is what we call our pages and our content modules, and all of the other stuff that they dig into once they decide they want to stick around for a little while. All of those things can and should be feeding into a call to action. And all that is helping meet a business objective or satisfying your user. Think just for a second about your site, your current site or your current content that you're working with. And how much of that actually does that? How much of it is actually helping your organization achieve its goals? How much of it do users actually want or care about? And how much of it is just getting in the way? So messaging can help focus that conversation. So let's take a look at what this looks like. Okay, we're going to talk about this guy, an AwesomeCo. So AwesomeCo needs to figure out its messaging strategy. They're a small consulting firm. They deliver sort of web strategic consulting. You know, how does your web strategy help support your business strategy, et cetera. And they need to sit down and they kind of need to figure out what their primary message is. So they toil and they work through it, and they know that these are sort of the things that are guiding them. We need to figure out why we're here, what you deliver, and why we're here, what we deliver, and what you get. But notice that those words are facing from the other direction. They need to begin to form this messaging from the outside in. Instead of talking at the customer, they need to be ready to engage their user. Hopefully each word has meaning, because again, we've got to kind of boil it down, because otherwise if everybody kind of starts weighing in, that's where you end up with these statements and messages that go on for miles about leveraging the monetization of the user-focused commitment to the innovation of the iPad. And again, all other messages are born from this one. We want it to be somewhat recognizable and memorable for the folks who are working on the web team. So here's what they came up with. AwesomeCo solves the business problems behind the world's most challenging web projects. Straight, to the point, easy to remember, no fluff, no BS. Okay? This took a long time to get to. There were many different drafts and lots of conversation around it, but when you get to this, this is it. This is the essence. This is the core. Okay? So let's then go and talk about how that's going to inform our secondary messages that will play out in our content itself and in the way that we select and design our content. Secondary messages are obviously going to support your primary message, but here's where it begins to provide context. Right? Okay, well, I'm a business. I have web problems. Can they help me? Am I in their audience? What kind of information, if that's what you're going to do for me, then these are the questions that I have. As a result of that, I'm going to be looking for information based on those questions. I need to get some stuff done here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? So here then is how those messages look. And I know that they can be difficult for you guys to see in the back, so hopefully you have the presentation on your laptop, or you can download it. I'm going to read some of them to you. So why was the word solves selected? Why not delivers? Why not produces? Why not is committed to? Solve suggests that we get things done. It's an active word. The business problems behind. It's not your website that's the problem. It's your business that's the problem. It's the way that your business is treating the web, which is as a channel and not as a way of doing business. And so these words go on, and the supporting messages go on, but now you begin to see how it's providing more context and how it's digging in a little bit more to beginning to tell that story and engage an audience in that story to begin to inspire confidence and curiosity and trust, etc. Okay, so let's move on then to page-level content hierarchy. Because here's where we're really going to see that messaging play out in actual content. Yay! Is this when the sugar crash is happening? I was just talking to somebody about that they always deliver the content after Luke's thing, and so about halfway through mine, everybody's just like, oh my God, I should not have had that 4th cupcake. They were just so small. Okay, so then we start talking about those thousands of details. And we were talking about the details, we're going to be delivering those in pages, or in content modules, or in, search databases, or PDFs, or however else we might be delivering information via our site experiences. So here are some examples of what we might be thinking about here. Types of content, and we're going to talk a little bit about us, about that page, because all of us have an about us. We all have an about us. That's oftentimes where organizations are like, oh my God, we have to redo all the content on our website. Let's start with about us, which nobody ever reads. I don't get it. All right, so this is a page template. You all know what a page template is. This is what it looks like. You have a page title. You have a lot of lorem ipsum. You have a section title and some links. This is going to be really flexible. This is going to really help our content owners and producers and writers. It's going to give them a lot of space and sort of flexibility and a nice context in which to deliver their content. Okay? When I sit down, if I'm going to write an About Us page, and I'm a writer, and this is what I have, and I have sales brochures, I have the copy on the website that was created 4 years ago by an intern. I have the CMO, yakking at me over here. I've got the other people in marketing going, she doesn't know what she's talking about. This is what you really need to say. And I'm taking in all this information, and I sit down to write. Where do I start? I have the message, but do I start the way that Strobel Dentistry started? Our organization was founded in 1981 with an idea that we could blah, blah, blah. Or our 2 leaders are world recognized in blah, blah, blah. Or, based in our super hip downtown location where we all ride scooters around the office. I mean, where do I start? Right? So this is where the idea of page tables comes in. Page tables, it's really, do I have any writers here? People who actually are responsible for creating content? Jeffrey, thank you. A few others. Okay, great. This is the most exciting, joyful, happiness-inducing thing that you could ever begin to deliver to people who are creating the content that people are coming to your site for. Because what this gives them is an actual roadmap for how they need to be talking about whatever it is that we've asked them to talk about, or whatever it is that we've decided they should talk about, or whatever it is that our audiences want to know. So it's not only going to provide those boxes, hopefully it's not going to deliver any lorem ipsum. But what it is going to do is it's going to provide guidelines for the kinds of content you're going to create. It's also going to give you the implications of what that content is. If you commit to this page on which we are featuring 8 case studies, what that means is that you are going to need to refresh those case studies X number of times a year before people are like, don't these people ever do any work? Right? You're going to need to even say, legal has not approved, or all 8 case studies have not been identified, and so no matter how happy those 8 boxes look on the page, if you commit to this, this is what needs to happen. It also is an opportunity for you to ask questions, open-ended questions, like who the hell is going to do this, for example. Or I asked for this 6 weeks ago at the beginning of the project, here it is, where is it? Okay? As well as open questions for the tech team. How is it that you would like us to be tagging these? How is it, after these happen, are we going to create an archives? How's that going to be managed? Where's that going to live? How will that be handled in search results, etc.? So, this stuff on the right is your page table. This stuff on the left is sort of helping visualize it within the page template. So let's break this down for just a second. Page objective. Oh, so much more than just a title, history, mission, leadership. This explains what we want this page to do and why we're including it here. And if you can't come up with a page objective, you probably don't want to include that page. Okay? I mean, one of the best examples, we're working on a website right now where it's like they have leadership, right? It's like a Fortune 50 website. They have leadership, and then they have like 30 different leadership, photos, and then each photo has links to about, bio, and accomplishments or something. So there's a photo, but each photo links off to 3 different pages because that's what was spec'd. But you go into those 3 pages and you're just like, why are these not just all on the same page? Because nobody made a page table to say people are coming here to learn about this person. They really should only have to go to one place and not have to click 6 times to get that information. It also lists source material. And this is source material that somebody has actually looked at and read. We had another client who came to us and wanted to be the next WebMD. And even after we told them there's already a WebMD, they didn't care. And they said, we've got a ton of content. We're going to start with these 400 PDFs. And so we know it's all there. You're just going to need to go through it and decide what to, how to prioritize it. Once we were done with messaging, once we were done with high-level content recommendations and high-level IA, we dug into that content and we came back to them and we said, you've got 32 PDFs that we can use. And the rest of them are either redundant or they're outdated or they're trivial and we don't need them. And then there was a fire drill from hell. So that's why it's important to actually assign somebody to really look at the source content, because then you know exactly where to point your content owners. And then maintenance. Again, if we create this content, what's going to happen to it next? That can be very eye-opening for a lot of folks. And now we have key page messages. So this is, if somebody glances at this page for 10 seconds, this is what they better come away with. Are these key messages about our organization? And then we have our priorities. This is not something that needs to be perfectly wordsmithed. This is something that can be a little bit of just a brain dump, but from a strategic standpoint, a storytelling standpoint, so that somebody who knows and owns the messaging can actually help the writer understand, here's the arc of this story. Here's what people need to read first. Here's how we're going to maybe break this down, because these are the subheads that people are curious about. And so even if they just read those 4 subheads, we will have accomplished our page objectives. This is awesome. This is gold for a content creator. And then this is sort of how it plays out. It's not super fancy, it's not super sexy, but it gets the job done in the way that it should. So one other thing that I should say, I did early on, I was doing a webinar for somebody, and one of the first questions that was asked was, do I need to create these for every single page of my site? No, you don't need to. You don't need to create a page table for every page. You do probably want to create them for key pages, though. If they're key landing pages that you're driving people to. Check out your analytics, check out your data, see where people are going, see where they're first arriving, see where it is that they're navigating to. Those are pages that you really want to be sure that you are nailing your page objective based on the content and the story that you're telling. So let's talk about how messaging plays out across your sites. More sugar, Ben & Jerry's. I got to present this before lunch one time, and at about this point in the presentation, the feed just like devolved into, oh my God, I love Heath Bar Crunch. It just, like, there was nothing left. So this is their homepage. You guys recognize this brand. You love the ice cream, etc. I love the ice cream. I have an unholy relationship with the ice cream. So this is their messaging. This is kind of their messaging that I threw together and guessed at. They're not a client. Does anybody here work for Ben & Jerry's? Okay, good. We always craft our eclectic collection of euphoric ice cream with love, all natural ingredients, and a plan for global goodness. Let's look at that for a second with regard to secondary messages. We craft. That means it's expensive. Our eclectic collection. Now, they don't say a wide variety. They don't say lots of different flavors. They say eclectic collection. That's quirky. It's interesting. It's creative. It sounds artistic almost. Euphoric ice cream flavors. I cannot think of a better word to describe a flavor than euphoric. With love, all natural ingredients, and a plan for global goodness. These are the 3 things that when you eat a pint of Ben & Jerry's all at once, no, don't do that. I speak from experience. These are the 3 things. These are the 3 things that they're hoping that you will know. These are the 3 things that they want you to be thinking about when you engage with their product. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to walk through some content across a variety of different platforms within Ben & Jerry's. So we're going to go through some of their sites, and then we're going to look at some other places where their content appears. This may begin to feel like, oh my God, enough with the Ben & Jerry's, but the thing is, what we're looking at here is like this much of the content that is available to them. And likely, if with your organization, I'm going to probably guess that it might be the same. So let's look at how this plays out, their messaging specifically, and whether or not it does a good job of informing and being acted out by the content that they have selected and where they have decided to deliver it. So let's start with our flavors. Great, this is the home page. We got kind of a big copy block there, but they are featuring the ice cream, but let's just look at the copy itself. After months of top secret research, many hundreds of test batches, and about a gazillion taste tests, we're thrilled to show you our eclectic collection of Ben & Jerry's flavor creations. That copy does a perfect job of echoing and supporting that primary message. Voice, tone, topic, word choice, etc. So this is how they're going to talk about their flavors, always, hopefully. Then we get into an actual flavor. This is my favorite flavor. I want you guys to know that. Anybody else? This sugar crash is occurring. Anybody? Caffeine? So, let's look at this. Okay, so first of all, I get to this and I want to, like, why would I come to this page? I want to know what the ingredients are. Maybe I want to know where I can buy it because I can't find it at my local corner store. Maybe I want to know if it comes in a bigger size. But here's what we get. The best news about this flavor used to be the bigger the better chunks. These days, along with hefty Heath Bar chunks, we use deliciously fair trade certified coffee extract. Fair trade certified guarantees a fair price to coffee growers, et cetera, et cetera. So this secondary message is actually beautifully supporting their primary message. What we have here, though, is just a design and an IA fail. And what do you think this looked like as a wireframe? H1, H2, H3, body copy, lorem ipsum. And so whoever went in to write this was like, oh my God, I have so much space, and I am such a creative writer, I'm going to deliver all of this. But it's hard to read. I wouldn't read this. Okay? So content, substance, great. Structure, not so good. Euphoric menu. This is basically what you can get if you go into a Ben & Jerry's store. Straightforward, well-designed, no additional copy. You've got those headers, try our all-natural ice cream and a freshly baked waffle cone, etc. Hot stuff, freshly made hot drinks to warm your soul, etc. Great. This is great. Straightforward. There isn't a lot of unnecessary. They decided not to include, let's discuss our original ice cream on the menu. Nobody wants to hear that. So then we come to our story about us back in '66. Now, but they decided it's important for us to start with that because we've been around for a while and because Ben & Jerry are they embody the brand of that ice cream. So they're going to tell this story in sort of that same lighthearted, quirky, impassioned tone about why we create ice cream and what it is that we hope to get done with our business of creating ice cream. We move on to Flavor Gurus, which is kind of a microsite that they were advertising for a while. The Flavor Gurus make tempting your taste buds their business. So, it's not the ice cream manufacturers, it's the Flavor Gurus, and so that's good. They're kind of casting, creating a character to kind of support and act out that message. Even their little press release section. Come on in, pull up a chair, and get comfortable as you check out. Key coverage, cypher clips, and press releases aplenty. They could have thrown this copy away. This could have just been 4-hour media center, please contact, et cetera, et cetera. But instead, they kind of gave it that little voice, that little Ben & Jerry's. So no matter where you're looking throughout the site, you're going to come across little, nuggets of joy like this, just to say, oh, Ben & Jerry's, you're so quirky. This is their European site, kind of the same thing, to celebrate that Ben & Jerry's has committed in going 100% fair trade. We're giving away a jungle. So this is, again, click to win, the talking cow. This is all fine. And this is copy that was created with the designer. This was copy that was actually delivered as part of the design. And I can tell because there's not a whole lot of extra stuff going on there. And because things like character count and heading size and, meaning that every ingredient that can be fair trade will be fair trade, little tiny disclaimer down there. All of these things were thought out by a content owner, creator, and a designer. Now we get to the Contact Us page. Welcome to our Consumer Assistant page. We at Ben & Jerry's are committed to ensuring that our customers receive answers to their questions and that they enjoy trouble-free use of our products. Run. The fastest and easiest way to find an answer to your question is to browse our frequently asked questions database. Great. And then they tell us how to contact them online. A lot of different links with a lot of different questions, which should have been answered by the name of the links. But again, somebody delivered a template or a wireframe that said this needs links. So let's go ahead and dig into their FAQ database real quick just to see what we can find. And this is what we find. Please reread the message up there. This is like rogue department that marketing and branding have like forgotten about. They live in a cave somewhere. So let's go ahead and ask a question. Why is your ice cream so expensive? Our product is expensive because of the high quality and quantity of the ingredients we use and because it is very labor intensive to make. We will make every effort to keep the price we charge distributors to that of an affordable luxury. Wow. Why hasn't anybody fixed this? Now, because it's just help content. And the agencies don't want to deal with help content. And marketing doesn't want to deal with help content. And so whoever is left to deal with help content, even though they are so passionate about it and want to get those questions answered, does not have any idea about primary messaging and cannot write in the Ben & Jerry's voice. Is it that writer's fault? No. It's because whoever is trying to own the content strategy for Ben & Jerry's doesn't think the help content really should matter. They don't see it as a part of their branded content, and that is a huge mistake. Because if I have a question and I get to help, you damn well better be there for me just the same way that you were throughout the rest of your super fun and happy and euphoric site. Okay? Then we get to their activism section. To operate the company in a way that actively recognizes the central role that businesses play in society by initiating innovative ways to improve the quality of life locally, nationally, and internationally. This is their mission statement. This is what they deliver when they're looking for grants or when they want to partner with other foundations. But this is what you get when you land on this page, looking for information about how Ben & Jerry's is out there trying to save the world. I couldn't read this. Like, I went back to this 3 times, and I kept going, where are the flavors again? Ooh, look at that big waffle cone. And it just goes on. It just goes on. And again, we had the nice design for the mission statement, and then we had room for copy. And it's not good copy. It's copy that comes out of a brochure. It's copy that comes out of, lobbying material or something. But it's not good, and it's not Ben & Jerry's, and it's boring. And I don't understand then, why is it that what you deliver to me in ice cream has nothing to do with your plan for global goodness, because clearly whoever wrote this is wearing a suit and does not talk to the cows. So let's talk a little bit about cross-channel consistency. When I looked up Ben & Jerry's on Facebook, this is what I came across. And this page had 21,000 fans, which I thought, wow, I would have thought that Ben & Jerry's had more fans, but still 21,000 people. I mean, that's more than a foot, that's big, that's big. So I looked at this and I realized that the last time it had been updated was March 7th of 2009. And I also, Ben & Jerry's, oh, yum, I love that kind of cookie and cookie dough. Like, spelled like that? Like, this is not, I was really confused about what this was. And what this was like a fan site. that Ben and Jerry's hadn't sort of like tracked down and maybe engaged that fan to sort of say, thank you for doing this. This is like the 101 of social media conversation. And so what had happened is that this fell off their radar to the point that it's damaging them on Facebook, and it's the first thing that comes up. So this is an example of content gone awry, user-generated content. And granted, if you're Ben & Jerry's, you're not going to be able to track down all of the user-generated content everywhere. But on Facebook, for the first results that come up, this is something that needs to be on their radar. Yes. So then I just want to say that I did go to and found actually the real Ben & Jerry's site that has like 1 million people who like it, and this was much better. So they were, introducing berry voluntary, a new flavor at Target, etc. Want a free pint? Here's the link to sign up to volunteer. What's wrong with that? How far do you have to read to get to want a free pint? That's my call to action right there. And it's Facebook, which means that you have about 0.5 seconds of my attention before I'm going to go check out my wall again. Okay? So this is like an isolated effort. Social media isn't something that's considered necessarily part of our user experience strategy or our content strategy. It's over here and we're waiting for it to go away. It's not going to go away. A lot of organizations I know are waiting for their social media people to go away. So pay attention. Pay attention to Facebook. Pay attention to Twitter. This is the Ben & Jerry's account when you do @Ben & Jerry's that comes up. And it's being run by someone who I'm pretty sure is an intern out of their London office. And did I take a picture of it? I don't know if I did. So it's, all of the tweets are like, what's your favorite flavor? And, ooh, I love that chocolate chip cookie dough, and kind of responding to other people with these other meaningless comments. And there's nothing happening in this feed. It's not really doing a great job of announcing events or of driving people to promotions or offering coupons or anything. It's an isolated effort that, yeah, it should live in marketing, but it also needs to be considered by user experience, because guess what? People are clicking through on links from this content and coming to you. And so beginning to think about that the stuff that you're working on actually lives within sort of this ecosystem of content and of platforms. Your content is like this living thing, and it's being impacted and it's being arrived at from all different places. And to be kind of aware of what's going on out there is really, really helpful just when you're thinking about what your next initiatives should be when it comes to your content. Oh, what I was going to say, I actually have to go find it. Somebody was like, oh, Halverson is ripping on Ben & Jerry's Twitter feed. And literally, like the next thing that came up from Ben & Jerry's was, Halverson, what's your favorite flavor? So here's Ben & Jerry's Google. This is the first thing that comes up for Ben & Jerry's on Google. The people that are working on tagging and on SEO and things like that are looking for ranking. They're looking for eyeballs, etc. What they're maybe not thinking about is talking to the folks that control the metadata to ensure that when those search results come up, it actually means something beyond just that page. So, official site for Ben & Jerry's, super premium ice cream, light ice cream, sorbet, frozen yogurt, and novelties, find full flavor listings, etc. This is not the kind of welcome I want from Ben & Jerry's. I see why it's there. I see why the keywords are there, but what else could they have done differently? Because they're beginning the conversation with me right now, the minute that they come up on Google. So again, if you touch metadata, if you touch page descriptions, if you get handed content with no page descriptions and just plug it in and then they're just picking up those first few words, it's a lost opportunity for us as an organization and for our sites to begin to engage people immediately when they find us online. This is the other thing. Oh, result number 2. Archived or deleted file that was still showing up in the search logs. Why? Because it hadn't been pulled appropriately. It hadn't been archived appropriately. It was still the link was still floating out there, and Google was still paying attention to it. So when you're ready to archive or retire a page, that's another thing. Where else is that page linked to? And that is so easy to lose track of, but this again is part of why we need to be thinking about things like structure and workflow and how they relate to one another. Then they fixed it, which was nice, a little bit later. But again, no page description. This is what I get. Under flavors, euphoric flavors, handcrafted with love and goodness. So Luke's presentation, man, I tweeted this, it just keeps getting better, and I just hate him for it. It's just like, I go after him, and, you know. So anyway, so Luke did this mobile first, which is great, and he kind of based his presentation on this extraordinary article that he wrote, I think it was last year, about sort of presenting his initial case for why design for mobile first. And this really struck me as a content strategist and as a content owner. And here's why. If you look at this, mobile devices require us to focus on only the most important data and actions. So when a team designs mobile first, it's an experience focused on key tasks without all the extraneous detours and general interface debris. Okay, now watch this. Watch this. Oh, same thing. It's the same thing. When it's that first example that he shows you with Southwest, all that other crap got out of the way, and we got to what matters. And we didn't put little links on there that said find a flight. Now on Southwest, fly as low as $49, blah, blah, blah. Tell me that later. Because right then and there, within those first few seconds, you need to deliver what it is that I want. And that's why considering your mobile content is a really exciting opportunity when you're thinking about how your messaging is going to play out also across your design and other platforms. So, again, here's the message and here's the Ben & Jerry's app. We went with the app instead of the site. And again, it's cute, it's fun, it's free Cone Day, etc. And they pretty much have figured out people are going to look to us to either find a store because they need some Ben & Jerry's now, or because they're trying to explain to their friend how awesome this certain flavor is. They're going to just pull it up and show it to them. So here's how you find. It's typical, right? You find a map, they see where you are, and there's little ice cream cones kind of showing you where the shops are. And then you get into flavors, and you